Tanishka Tantrika is best known as Facebook's The Moon Woman, with almost 500,000 followers of her daily intuitive guidance. She's from Melbourne, Australia. She's been to Ubud 4 times before. And she has nearly 20 years of experience as a teacher of Tantra and ancient women's wisdom. She's also the author of 3 books, including The Inner Goddess Makeover. And she has a background in stand-up comedy. So it's a perfect combination for PechaKucha. She makes esoteric wisdom relevant and entertaining. And tonight she's going to talk about Give Year of the Peace, Sleep, a Chance. Tanishka Tantrika.
Okay, so we're here in 2015, Year of the Peace Sheep, and sheep have a bit of a bad, PR campaign. In China, people actually take birth control so they don't give birth to a child in Year of the Peace Sheep because people consider sheep followers rather than leaders. But sheep know something that we don't. They know how to get along. Yeah? So our lesson this year is how to get along with each other. How can we live with each other? And of course, when we focus on the lesson being peace, what do we attract? The opposite. So this year, we're going to be challenged with some conflict. We're going to be challenged with the sort of things that really stir up and question whether or not we can maintain our inner peace. Oh, geez. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've got to look first of all at our group dynamics. We have power struggles in relationships, so we avoid trying to be the black sheep by pointing out the faults in the other person. And this is kind of like you're the dirty rascal and I'm the king of the castle. It's the blame game. And we get this in pretty much every relationship. I'm losing there we go. So the lesson is, for us to get along, we have to see our opposite as our divine teacher, as our mirror, instead of scapegoating them as the black sheep. Because what happens when we reject them? We reject them so many times that eventually we convince ourselves that we really are better than them, and we ditch them completely. So it's time to get naked. Not physically naked, but emotionally and mentally naked. Yeah, it's time to get really transparent, because if we don't, we try to avoid feeling our own shame by pointing out what we find, horrible in ourselves and the other person. And to do that, we need a practice. And not a practice on our own where we sit in a cave counting sheep or contemplating our navel, but we need a practice with other people. Otherwise, we can feel like we've transcended being human, but we still can't actually interact. So we're here to fulfill our divine potential. And to do that, we need to learn how to spiral upwards by looking at nature as the teacher. Otherwise, we will tear each other down by spiraling down in entropy and in destruction. And you can see nature grows in circles. We've got a mushroom ring here, trees grow in circles. And when we think about a wind, when is it at its most powerful? When it is spiraling in a hurricane. So too, we need to learn how to face each other, how to sit in a circle. Because a circle is where we practice being transparent, vulnerable, and we learn to share power, rather than in a hierarchical structure trying to be top dog. So when women sit in circle, they grow sisterhood because they see themselves mirrored in each other. And in that, they awaken compassion. Otherwise, women compete. They try to be the perfect woman, the perfect wife. We've got these beautiful Stepford wives behind me. But it's kind of like, I'm the fairest one of all, which is pretty tragic. So when women admit that they cycle together with the moon and they see themselves as connected, they're not going to put each other down. So too, when men sit in circle, they have a container where they can admit that sometimes they can't keep it all together, that they're not, invincible. And when men have a place to do that, they don't end up with pent-up frustration, which they end up taking out as conflict on themselves or on those that they love. And we see men often will suppress their pain with substances. And if it's not a substance, it might be work, it might be sex, but basically not dealing with the issue, sweeping it under the carpet. And we are here to fulfill the whirling rainbow prophecy. That's all colours, all creeds living together in harmony. And we can only do that if we remember that ultimately we are the one consciousness, and it is time for us to behave like that. Because sometimes life will turn to shit. It is inevitable. So when we have the support of a circle in our lives once a month, when our life turns to shit, we don't spiral down the toilet with it. We have support so that we can look at the lesson. Because shit is a very fertile place to grow our wisdom. And when we have support from each other, we flower, we blossom, rather than hiding away like a mushroom. So it is time for us to awaken to the fact that we're here to save the world. It's us, the buck stops with us, and we are all superheroes. But superheroes are not necessarily physically strong. That's an illusion. We are superheroes, and you know why? The more evolved you become, the more sensitive you become. And so when we honour our sensitivities, we realise that I'm weak where you're strong, and vice versa, and we help each other out. Again, we see this in nature. You know, after a bushfire, there are some plants that come in and colonise, and then they die out so that other plants get a chance to grow and balance the ecosystem. So too, we have animals that move as one, in herds, in flocks, in schools, and it's because they've awakened the higher heart of empathy. So instead of telling each other what to do, they feel the group and they move as one. So this is our lesson in Year of the Peace Sheep. It's to remember that if we want to return to Eden, we've got to follow the example of our brothers and sisters in the animal and plant realms, and we've got to work together. Otherwise, our conflict is going to wipe us out. Thank you.
Tanishka, we do a few questions after each speaker. So I'll let you use this microphone. Do we have any? Can Danny Paradise come? Because you're up next, Danny. Any questions for Tanishka?
Yeah, okay. That doesn't mean I'm going to ask you to drink cordial and join my cult. What that means is Eden is when we live in transparency and when we live in honour of the natural cycles so that we grow together something that is a sustainable, co-created way of living that honours the symbiosis of each and every person because we honour the divine design within us. Pleasure. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
You spoke about circles and about groups.
Yeah.
And kind of as a prescription for modern living in a way.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how people who are interested in creating groups like that or joining groups like that would go about it, and what's been your experience with those type of creations?
It might become advertorial. I train people to run circles. Is that okay to mention that? Oh, okay. Yeah, look, I'm so passionate about this. I was always a black sheep, if you can't tell. So I've trained 400 women in the last 3 years to run women's circles in 30 countries via an online course. The men are a little bit slower to come to the table. We've got probably about 20. But it's understandable because circle is a feminine construct, you know, and women will go into a toilet, a public toilet, and we'll start talking about the intimacies of our life with somebody that we've never met. Whereas for men, that's a bit more of a stretch, you know. So, yeah, I invite anybody that wants to learn how to start a circle. I'd like to say that in the indigenous cultures, they all sat in circle. They sat around a circle every night because it's natural, around a fire. and that since, you know, radio and TV, we all just zone into doing what we're told to do, the programming. And that's our downfall. That's how we've been divided and conquered. So if we want to find our power, we create a vortex, a cone of power when we sit in circle. And it brings up our shit like nothing else, and it's the bravest thing you can do, but it will transform your life as a monthly practice. Yeah. I'd like to also add that in the Native American tradition, if you wanted to destroy a village, all you had to do was go in and destroy the Moon Lodge, because they knew that was the heart of the community. So if we want to rebuild a global community as quickly as possible, we just need to seed circles as a way of ensuring our group dynamics are safe. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Oh, there's someone.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
The question
Okay, great question.
Is there a circle in Ubud?
All right. There was a guy that came to my Holy Grail talk the other night. His name is Steve, and he's going to train and do the men's training so he can start a brotherhood sun lodge circle here for men. So the men meet when the sun moves into a new sign, and they literally journey the hero's journey around the astrological wheel to step into kingship more and more each month. The women, I'm training a lovely woman called Rhiannon at the moment. So yes, there will be a brother and a sister circle. Watch this space. I have a global directory on my website called starofishtar.com. Ishtar was the great whore of Babylon. She's a good friend of mine.
There's a men's circle every Thursday in Ubud since 2 years. It's quite good. Unfortunately, I cannot invite you.
Well, I've got balls, but you can't see them. But thank you, I'm honoured.
No, we have a men's circle every Thursday.
You have a men's circle every Thursday in Ubud. Fantastic. How do people find you?
Usually like about 8 to 12 men.
Yes?
And it's happening every Thursday.
Okay, will they find you on Facebook?
Facebook, Ubud, men's circle.
Ubud Men's Circle. There you go, guys. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for holding that space. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tanishka.
Thank you.